let's roll to what's going to be going on this weekend in Brazil. And that is going to be UFC Fight Night, Belfort versus Henderson. And I think the majority of us here in the States and, around the world, excluding Brazil, will be tuning in to see Belfort versus Henderson, which could be a very exciting fight. You got Ferreira, you got a bunch of other names on this card. Like once again, it's in Brazil. A lot of the people on the preliminary card are all Brazilians we're not familiar with. Paulo Thiago.
I was about to say, are we going to start with Paulo Thiago versus Brandon Thatch?
Brandon Thatch in a welterweight fight. And there's 2 other fights on the main card, but we're going to kind of bypass those. And like George said, just start with Paulo Thiago. I'm going to go with Thiago right off the bat.
I'm going to say Thiago might have his hands full because the kid he's going up against is 10-1, dude.
But who has he fought?
We're not talking about that. We're just talking about the record overall.
I'm just saying, man. You know what I'm saying?
He beat Justin Edwards, son.
I could be 10-1 right now if I fought the Cabbage Patch Kids and some of them other motherfuckers. They'd be like, Kevin White's a badass motherfucker, man. That motherfucker 10-1. But like, he didn't fight anybody.
Yeah, okay. Point taken. But Thiago's had a rough stretch as of late, dude. He's only got 5 career losses, and he's picked up 4 of them in his last 6 fights.
6 fight, yeah. What was his last fight? Who was his last fight against?
Michael Perazizers.
Okay, we know that guy. Did he win?
No, he lost. I mean, yeah, he beat that guy, but he lost to the Dong. He lost to Sayer. He beat some dude named David Mitchell. He lost to Diego Sanchez, and he lost to Martin Campman. So
he's losing to some pretty good. I mean, we do know the Dong comes hard, so that's that's a decent loss. I mean, if you're gonna take one on the chin, I mean,
I'm not taking anyone's Dong on my chin.
Me either. So that's why I shut the fuck up right there. Now let's move on to the next fight. Light heavyweight fight between Rafael Cavalcante and Igor Pokrajac or whatever. Pokrajac. Somebody's going to be like, if you guys are going to report on the fights, you should learn the fucking names. It's ridiculous. You guys are so unprofessional. We know that. We fucking know that, okay? For all you motherfuckers that are just tuning in, and we've been doing this shit for 6 years, we know we're unprofessional, okay?
If you've been doing this for 6 years, you should quit or go get a real job.
Dude, we're doing it for fun. Just like you couch potatoes are going to be fucking joning on these guys on Wednesday night and Saturday night when you're sitting there with your boys. I'm in Philly, he's in D.C. This is the only way we get to talk about it. So fucking just calm down a little bit.
Rafael is going to fight Igor, okay? And, I got to go with Cavalcante.
I don't see how you can't.
Yeah, I just, it's, I know we're going with the more popular MMA athletes in this, but it's just,
I mean, look at Igor. Igor is basically viewing probably this fight as a slump buster. And for you guys who don't know what a slump buster is, it's probably because you don't get pussy. What happens is you get a lot of pussy and then you hit a slump. And to get out of your slump, you usually have to take on, you either going hogging or you're going for somebody. It's a slump buster. It's not anything you really real proud of. You're not going to tack her panties up on the wall or anything, but you got to do it to get out of your slump. And Igor, in my opinion, is on a bit of a slump. I mean, he's had 2 losses and a no contest in his last 3 fights.
Yeah, so he's struggling, and Cavalcante just to me is somebody you don't want to go up against. I mean, he's not an elite guy in his class in the light heavies, but
no, and he's struggling. In his last 4 fights, he's had 2 losses and no contest and 1 win. So maybe these guys are eyeing each other as slump busters because they both need a win, in my opinion.
The battle of the second chancers. That's what I'm going to call it, because one of these guys needs to come out with the victory. The other one's going to be fucking teaching classes. That's my new line for today. Teaching classes. Middleweight fight between Cezar Ferreira and Daniel Sarafian. Now, this is where it gets interesting. I don't know why. I just thought I'd throw that in there to change my language up a little bit.
Yeah, I was about to say, please explain to me why you find this interesting, because, I mean, between the 2 of them, they have 5 UFC fights.
You said what?
I said between the two of them, one's fought 3 times in the UFC, the other one's fought 2 times in the UFC. So I'm just like,
I mean, I it's funny because that's the unfortunate thing about some of these fights. It's like we don't have a detailed resume on all these fighters, and some of the things which makes it difficult to report on is some of the people, their former opponents, we don't know a lot about because they're no-namers. So it's not like you can say, okay, this guy, we can look at their records and say, okay, you did this. But when you're fighting a nobody, and I could be the best Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy in the world, and then I fight a nobody, there's a very good chance I'll knock that fucker out just because he has no skill set. You know what I mean? And then nobody sees my true skill set, which is taking it to the ground, and that's what happens with, when George and I.
This is the Ultimate Fighter Brazil middleweight tournament finale, dude.
Oh, yeah.
That's why we don't. This show only airs in Brazil, so you can't fault us for not knowing everything about these two guys. These two guys have fought their way through the house. They're the finalists. So this is for a contract. So this is a big fight for both these guys. So yeah, their previous fights were just strictly through the house and on TV. It's Nogueira versus Verdum.
Hence, that's why I said it's getting interesting.
That's where the one guy. His two fights were on the Nogueira versus Verdum. Fuel TV card, and then Belfort versus Bisping was the other one. So, I mean, yeah, this is a big fight. I mean, we'll see. I don't know. Yeah, look, I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. I don't watch the American version of the Ultimate Fighter, so I'm sure as shit not gonna watch one in Brazil where I have to fucking read. I don't watch TV to fucking read. Right.
Now, this is where it gets good. The light heavyweight battle.
This is the reason we're all tuning in.
And the whole reason is because it's the battle of the PED masters. And we are fucking psyched. George and I never have a problem with this, okay? I mean, we have a problem if it's lopsided. Like if one guy's on PEDs and the other one's not on PEDs. That's when it becomes a problem for George and I. But right now, we know Vitor Belfort takes shit. We know Dan Henderson has a prescription to take shit. And we know
supposedly Dan Henderson's gotten off of it.
Well, he better get back on it, okay? Because he's fighting Vitor Belfort in Brazil.
In Brazil? Yeah, I'm hoping fucking Dan Henderson better take a shot before he heads to the ring.
He better get all kinds of shit.
He better be, because we know Vitor is. Vitor gives no shits, no goddams. And let's face it, now Brazil has an athletic commission. Do you think they're really going to fucking bust? If Vitor came in and his piss burned through the bottom of the cup and 3 layers of concrete, do you think no, they're not going to pop him.
And it is going to run through all that shit. You can believe that. And when he comes into the octagon, he's going to look like the second coming of Godzilla. I'm telling you that right now.
I can tell you right now. And here's my favorite part. We were talking about, on one of our previous UFC videos, we were talking about Hector Lombard. And we said, wow, his skin is really grainy. And one of you rocket scientists, I don't know which one you are, posted a comment and said, grainy skin has implications of steroid use. I was like, about fucking time you people put it together. Very good.
There's a certain way you look. I mean, obviously I have a history in that sport. Yeah, I mean, when your skin is that grainy, you just do not look like that all the that is just, you just don't get that level of heart. Now, when you're like a teenager and you have great genetics and you're just a wiry motherfucker, yeah, you can be dry and be that lean, but it's still a different look than when you see a 30-something-year-old man and all of a sudden you've seen him one fight, 6 months previously, and he just looks a little soft, a little bit, his skin looks almost watery, rubber-like, and then the next time you see him, he is dry and his skin is grainy as fucking, you can see all the fucking fascia. It's just a different look.
Take a look at when Vitor weighs in and he goes and flexes, and if they do a zoom up, take a look at his shoulders and his delts and his back, and take a good look at his skin, and you'll see that's just and we know he's on it. So it's like you guys can't even argue right now with us about it. And then look at his physique. Look at his physique and look at what it looks like. That is what a guy looks like on it. Now, the next time you see a guy with a physique that looks just like Vitor's, I'm talking about skin thickness, the veins, the vascularity, the musculature, and then tell me that a guy's not on it.
Right. Exactly. It's exactly. Now, with that being said, George, I'm going to do the famous thing. If Vitor's jacked, which I have to take a good chance, have to say that he will be jacked in Brazil, I'm going with Belfort. And
if that old man can land one of those right hands, Vitor's going to be snoring. But the problem is, can he land the right hand?
Yeah. Now this could be, if he can take him to the ground and do the ground, the old Dan Henderson ground pound. He just has not fought like that as of late.
No, I mean, it's not. He's going to put his left hand out there and cock his right hand back, and he's going to try to punch right through his skull. That's what he's going to do.
And I think some of the problems with why Dan Henderson doesn't do that is he's just not conditioned as he was back in his 30s. I mean, we saw that happen with him. We saw Dan Henderson fall apart when he fought Shogun.
Is this fight at 185 or 205?
This fight? Yeah. I think this fight's at 185. No, actually, it's 205. It's at 205. My bad.
Dan Henderson's going to look like 10 pounds of shit in an 8-pound bag.
Yeah, and, we've seen it with Dan Henderson. If the fight goes, he's just not like the Dan Henderson of old. Where,
that's why
like,
he stopped cutting. He was like, if I'm not fighting for a title at 185, I'm not making the cut anymore. So that tells you right there, his heart is not into getting down. I mean, it sucks. That's a suck weight to drop. I mean, it's just dropping 20 pounds at his age. Oh, hell no.
It's tough. I think at this point in time in his career, he's like, I'm going to load up that fucking right and hope I can land the H-bomb and get a fucking paycheck and get another fight. And I don't blame him. Huh?
I don't blame him at all. But I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be the most entertaining fight of this week besides what's happening in the NFL.
Right.